Quietly Intelligent, the show where we explore how AI is transforming the way real businesses think, operate, and grow. Today's guest is someone who understands transformation better than most. Michelle Berndt is the president and partner at InsurTech Hub, and her career tells a story that's becoming more and more common. Leaders who didn't come from tech, but who now find themselves helping an entire industry navigate one of the biggest technology shifts of our lifetime. With a degree in healthcare administration and over 8 years in insurance, Michelle has worn almost every operational hat, from national training director to VP of sales. She's seen firsthand where agencies get stuck, what slows producers down, and what actually moves the needle in revenue and retention. Now she's at the helm of a company helping agencies modernize, compete, and adopt technology responsibly. Michelle, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Hannah. Thanks for having me.
So, you came into insurance with a healthcare administration background, two
Mhm.
industries known for compliance, complexity, and sensitive data. How has that shaped the way you've approached technology and the way you approach innovation today?
Yeah, there's really two buckets when you think about technology in general and HIPAA in general. You hear secure, secure, secure to protect the company, but one thing we don't talk about is also protecting the customer. So, especially in healthcare administration, you almost learn that from day one. I also come from higher education, 11 years there, and you got FERPA, and then you get in the healthcare world and you got HIPAA, and it's all about keeping the companies safe and securing the information for the member or customer, whatever you may call them. And so from day one, it's been embedded in my head that when you're having conversations, you need to be careful what you share. But now we live in a world where everything's online, almost to a fault where we don't even need humans anymore. And now it's like, well, you better protect what's online as well. And so I think they've made it so easy to be able to share, but with that comes more responsibility that we all need to be aware of. What if you share with the wrong person? What if you share the wrong info? What if this person should see it, but not this person? So I think it's amazing the evolution of technology, but sometimes we just got to slow down and make sure we're rolling it out the right way.
Absolutely. And I would say insurance, like many other industries, is undergoing a massive modernization moment right now. When did you first realize that AI would play a defining role in the future of distribution and agency growth?
I think it kind of comes up in brainstorming, and several years back, long before I started in the industry, one of the things we always say, because when you're an insurance agent, it is go, go, go. Like if you have time for lunch, you had a good day. And so it's work smarter, not harder. How do you do that? And so every year you're brainstorming, how can we do that? How can we do that? And back in the day, people would say, "I wish we had this. I wish we could do this." In fact, I know that Matthew McConaughey was just on the Rogan show, right? And he was talking about if I had this, 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 and this, man, my life would be easier. What that is pipIQ. And so when my partner and I, Todd Hall of InsurTech Hub, heard about pipIQ, we're like, this is a game changer, especially in the insurance industry, because we don't have something like that right now. If you run a team, you are so busy managing that team and answering questions, that's about your day. If you could, two things, increase productivity, but decrease workload, wow, like that's a game changer for 2026.
Absolutely. And as someone who's led national training, where do you see teams struggle the most when they're adopting new tools? And how does AI maybe help close those gaps?
Yes, this is my favorite question because it's all about interacting. And as we've been promoting pipIQ, people are like, but how is it truly different than ChatGPT? There are a lot of similarities, of course. I personally say that pipIQ is ChatGPT on steroids. It's bigger and better in every way. Obviously, the security aspect, it's the only secure AI platform out there. But also think of like the marketing arm of ChatGPT, which that'll come someday with pipIQ too. I know they're working on that for next year. But everything else pipIQ can do, but it's secure. The part that I think training in America is missing in any industry is the interaction. active part. And so now think, I'll do icebreakers with customers when we're talking about pipIQ and, where do you house all your documents and where do your employees go for information they need? And the number one thing I typically hear is, well, we have a folder for that or the training library. Great, at least you have a spot. But then so many more questions arise. Who has access to that? Who updates it? Is it secure? But more importantly, can your employees interact with it? Well, what do you mean? Okay, well, let's say you have 10 new employees, they're going through new hire training, and they are halfway through a presentation and they're like, well, what about this? Or how is this different than this? Or I wish someone was around, I could ask this. What if they could pause the video or pause the presentation, ask a question, and get an answer right on the spot? Like that, to be able to interact with a training library or a knowledge database, I have not seen been done yet.
We know that about 80% of employees are already using AI tools privately, often without leadership knowing. From your vantage point, what risks does that create for agencies if they don't intervene with approved solutions?
Yeah, I mean, you're putting everyone's job at risk and the company as a whole, but also don't forget the customer, right? The consumer is your bread and butter. But one thing I want to point out is I don't think employees ever do it to harm the company. They do it because it's the only tools they know, right? I mean, we tell them get creative, be innovative. You got to be careful with that word because when an employee hears innovative, they're like, "Ooh, what can I do?" Well, the thing right now is hop on Chat GPT. I have a daughter in college. She's a freshman. And Chat GPT is ruling high school and college world right now, to the fact that when she went to college, we got a letter to the parents, even though she's 18, saying, we want your student to be aware. Every single thing they turn in will be ran through a system. And if there's any Chat GPT, they'll fail it automatically. So I think it's making sure your employees have resources, number one, but then taking it a step further, are they secure, appropriate resources? And third and final, have you even taught them how to use them? Because if no one's teaching them how to use them, they're going to do the best they can. In hindsight, they may harm your company, but didn't really mean to. So I think having an SOP, right? Like what technology are they allowed to use? Especially in healthcare, you have to be careful, right? Because like on my cell phone, I have the Chat GPT app. Well, in healthcare, you have to be careful because you really shouldn't have cell phones out on a call center floor, right? So there's just so many things to be aware of. And when it comes to technology, you got to lay it out. What is allowed, what is not, but do your due diligence. If you are going to allow something, you darn well better train them how to use it and make sure it's secure.
And to your point, it's not that companies should be discouraging the use of ChatGPT, it's or an AI platform. It's
Yeah.
that it needs to be secure in protecting the company and its data. And so, it's great that you're using tools to be innovative. It's just how those tools
Yes.
are acting.
Yes. And people are going to get curious and they're always going to test limits, right? I say that because I have two teenagers who do it daily, but anybody does any age. And so if you give them 10 feet, they're going to take it 20. So again, it's good. Technology is good. We wouldn't be where we are today without it, but you can't just let them fly with it, right? There has to be boundaries. Boundaries is important in technology.
Absolutely. How do you think AI can support better training, onboarding, and upskilling for producers, especially newer agents who are overwhelmed by product knowledge and underwriting nuance?
One of the things that we saw in COVID, there was good and bad, more bad than good, but let's call out a couple good things. After COVID, I have been working from home now from 6 years straight. So we proved that you can do more remotely. We proved that you can be just as effective in most industries remotely. But with that, you can't really monitor necessarily what they're doing on their technology. And so, one of the things I think COVID encouraged was being able to utilize technology more, which is good. But now we have to have more around what that looks like. One of the things I hear people say and myself too. I'm going to own it. If I just had more time in the day, I'd be the most successful woman in the world, right? How do you create that? Really, pipIQ is like having your own personalized assistant, literally, but not paying a salary, right? You're literally getting it for like 90% off. So think about the stuff you do on a daily basis. What is super repetitive? What could be standardized? What could you have more time to do and be more effective at your job should you utilize technology? We're already going that way, honestly, due to COVID. So take it a step further as we plan for 2026, which is only 2 weeks away. What is your plan for employees to be able to be innovative, to be able to continuously grow through training? You're going to have to use technology, and if you're not, get on the bandwagon. But what does the training look like for that?
Absolutely. So, KPMG came out with a 2025 global AI study that showed that 41% of Americans trust AI, 55% have experienced inaccurate results. How do you think insurance leaders think about these trust gaps when implementing AI tools for agents and clients?
One thing I think we all can agree on is the insurance industry specifically, but honestly, just healthcare in general is a fast-paced world. It is just fast. And it needs to be, honestly. But with being a fast-paced world, you tend to just try to get answers wherever you can and you pray they're right. It's almost kind of like, unfortunately, a go get it, ask for forgiveness later. You got to be careful with that. So I think again, not intentionally, but like employees, especially insurance agents, will be like, let me see if I can find that answer. And maybe they just Google it. And you can't always rely on Google. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. And I tell my kids this all the time. And so one of the things I love about pipIQ is you have one admin. I mean, you can have multiple, but really we encourage one person at your small business or at your insurance agency, whatever it may be, to own those documents. Typically, it's like an HR person, right? They own those documents. They make sure they're always up to date. And that way, when an employee is searching for answers, because they'll go anywhere to find the answer as quickly as possible, that's the problem. It's coming from legit, valid resources. And then, of course, if you know anything about pipIQ, you know that if for some reason it's not in the uploaded documents, it's going to pull from outside additional resources. So it's kind of being able to take it step by step. But you don't just want people going on the internet and searching because number one, you're going to get 50,000 different answers. And number two, you're really creating more work because you're going to have to go back to a customer and explain you had the wrong answer. Sorry for the miscommunication. Put your tail between your legs and fix the situation.
And you touched on this, but one of those main benefits of pipIQ is that it's private and secure, but also it's tailored to your company. So you can upload all of your company documents, and the responses that you'll get are tailored to your business policies and practices, your mission, things like that. With insurance being such a high stakes industry, one wrong detail can jeopardize coverage. So, how important is accuracy and control and having those really contextualized and tailored responses when choosing AI solutions for agencies?
210%. And this is why insurance calls are recorded, right? Because, and I've seen this happen, someone, you're in the middle of open enrollment. I mean, you have hundreds of people you're talking to a day. And someone calls in and they say, now, what is the pre-existing condition waiting period for this? And they accidentally say it's 1 year instead of 2 years. Or they say, oh, no, this is guaranteed issue. There is no pre-existing waiting period when there is. Or one I see happen often is maternity. Is maternity covered or not, right? Again, you may not do it intentional, or you may just be working fast and you brought up the wrong product that they were asking about. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the member remembers everything you say. And if you told them maternity was covered when in reality it wasn't, that is coming back on the company and the insurance agent. So it is incredibly important for you to know your products inside and out, give the right information up front, but also, I used to have a team, and I would tell them, your customer will appreciate you so much more if you just say, you know what, that's a great question. I want to make sure I get you the right answer. Hold tight. Than you saying, and it's wrong. So it is okay. We call it the power of pause. Pause. Whether you are getting that answer from an actual human being or PIP IQ, it is 100% okay to tell the customer, hold 1 second so that you can ensure you get them the right information because it can make or break you in this industry.
So InsurTech Hub made the switch to pipIQ. How
Sure
did you
did.
guys drive that shift for your team?
Yeah, so we were the first in the insurance industry. In fact, we have an exclusive partnership with pipIQ, which is absolutely awesome. We just saw the value in it immediately. But where we first saw it was for ourselves. If you check out our website, myinsurtechhub.com, you will see on our partners page there's a gazillion partners. And I myself as president is like, that's a lot to track. And I'm like, gosh, it would be amazing if this was housed in one spot because the questions that Todd and I get asked every single day could be right there. They don't have to wait on us, right? And we can work smarter, not harder. Literally 2 weeks later, we hear about PIP IQ and we're like, sign us up today. But then as we started digging in, because we at InsurTech Hub, we recruit agents to sell for other carriers. But this is one thing we are going to sell because that's how much we see the value in it. And we're like, this is out of the park, absolutely so important for small businesses to have in 2026. So now we started telling our insurance agencies about it. They're coming to all the demos. There's always demos going on, so make sure you join one. And everyone sees the value. There really isn't any concerns because it's secure, because it's HIPAA, right? All of that is built in, so it alleviates those concerns right off the bat. So really the biggest obstacle is just knowing how to bring it up in conversation and describe it effectively.
What are some of those biggest benefits you've seen pipIQ have for your team specifically, or you even as a leader within the industry? Whether it be time back or innovation or whatever. What are some of those value points?
Yeah, time is money. And I'll say it again, time is money. So we have been able to get rid of some of the minute tasks that we can have pipIQ do for us, which an HR director, who wouldn't love that, right? But also think of it this way, and I can't say this is the a value add for every small business, but if you work in any type of sales, 100%. A lot of people don't know, and this comes from the trainer in me, the hardest thing for salespeople to do is their sales pitch. Right? Like it kind of blows your mind, like, but they're salespeople. I know. And they can probably sell you the socks right off your feet. But bringing up the product for the first time in conversation and having that elevator speech or your sales pitch is usually the hardest thing to create. You get like 30 seconds to make a first impression, if that. So it's got to be a good one. One of the things I love about pipIQ, if it has the appropriate documents uploaded, because don't just think marketing materials and brochures, think presentations, think proposals, think flyers, think websites, anything that could be a resource to supply your employees. If that's the case, then an insurance agent can say, create me a proposal on this, create me a presentation on this, create me a sales pitch for a customer in under 30 seconds. That is huge because insurance agents, again, are so busy, maybe sometimes a little lazy, to have pipIQ create that for them. Huge.
I think one of the biggest fears with AI adoption in corporate world, in any industry, is that AI will replace my job, AI will replace me as a human. Many agencies might fear AI will replace producers. What's your take on that? And what roles in insurance do you believe AI will actually elevate rather than replace?
That's a really good question, actually. So I would encourage all the listeners to think of it the opposite. And what I mean by that is, listen, AI is not going to replace you. At the end of the day, there's nothing better than human interaction. And any customer will tell you that. So, how many times do you hear customers say, it's so good to speak to an actual person, not a robot, right? So, no, your job is secure as long as you do a good job. But think of it the opposite. You know what could make you lose your job? If you don't get your daily tasks done in a timely manner. It's just the way it is, right? So, again, if you could use a secure AI platform to lift your workload and increase productivity, your job is actually more secure than less secure. So, flip it. There's always a positive side to things. And listen, if technology was as dangerous as what some people think, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we did today.
Absolutely. Going back to that privacy aspect, we're seeing more carriers and enterprise partners add contract language restricting the use of public AI tools. How big of a wake-up call is this for agencies and vendors?
Well, I support restricting if you don't have rules, right? Like you cannot just allow technology to fly around. Just as a parent, as a mom, I shouldn't allow it with my teenagers. There has to be boundaries with technology. So I agree with that. However, don't restrict it so much that you are asking your employees to be innovative, but then are not allowing them to do so, right? Before, I don't want to say before technology, but before it became as big as it was, we always tell employees, speak up. At this company, you'll be heard. But then they would give you big, thoughtful ideas and just would be shut down. Oh, we've already tried that. No, we'll think about it, right? You can't do the same thing with technology. You can't tell them to find a way to be innovative. They go out there and use Chat GPT, which 99% of America does, but then take it away or not teach them how to effectively use it.
As someone who thinks a lot about the future of the channel, what do agencies need to start doing today to stay relevant in an AI-driven landscape?
Yeah, we just had this conversation last week, Todd and I, when we were speaking with an agency. And I encourage you, I listen, I know it's a busy time of year, especially during OEP, but as you plan for 2026, I really encourage you to get out a piece of paper and write down what has to be human touch. Don't lose that aspect. That's what customers need and quite frankly deserve. But on the other side of that paper, write what technically could be standardized. Again, what is repetitive in your job? What would you trust AI if you knew it was secure? Because it is. What would you trust it to do? So if you make a list like that and ease into it, right? You don't have to standardize everything on technology tomorrow, nor should you. Take it step by step. I think once you really test the system, because that's what we did first, A, you're going to fall in love with pipIQ. But B, you're going to be like, holy moly. Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're already seeing in some instances, depending on the industry, a 40% lift in workload with pipIQ. Wow. So I right there would say that's worth any business to give it a shot, especially if you work in sales.
Before I let you go, if you could give every agency owner one AI habit to build in 2026, what would it be?
Trust the process, right? Listen, technology is pretty dang smart. Technology rocks. It's really us that isn't, because we abuse it or we don't know how to use it, and we just get curious, test things, get curious, ask questions, but trust the process. This is the one thing I just blows my mind about pipIQ, but I absolutely love. The more you use it and the more it gets to know your documents and the answers and things, because it saves all the history and whatnot, it gets smarter. And let me rephrase that. The more you use the system, the better it will provide your employees and yourself answers. So trust the system, trust the process, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised. And I would love to hop on again in a year and see where pipIQ is because you guys have so many new things coming down of that you're working on, but all I would give you as advice is technology is going to be a part of your company, whether you like it or not. So you have the choice to either just roll out whatever works and pray they're safe, or roll out a system that you know is secure and start off the year right. Really, it's being proactive, not reactive.
Well said. And we'd love to have you back in a year, Michelle.
Yeah, we'll be shoot pipIQ will be well, it already is global, but it'll be in every state and every customer and every small business.
I love it. Let's manifest that.
I love it.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you follow pipIQ so you never miss conversations with leaders who are shaping the future of work, one smart, secure decision at a time. And you can find Michelle Berndt on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.